Yesterday, 29th of March, we celebrated the mother's 111th anniversary of her first arrival to India, Pondicherry. And this was 29th of March 1914. So the numbers 111, 111 seems very auspicious. And yesterday also we started the Navratris. So today we will be talking about the mother's first arrival to Pondicherry, and we will see in the prayers and meditations of the mother, which she has written in the month of March. She reached India on 29th, and how she prepared and what are the kinds of experiences which the mother underwent as she was on her voyage to India. And we get a lot of clues as to what her realizations and experiences were, not only for herself, because in 4 years back, 1910, the mother's husband, Paul Richard, had visited Pondicherry under very interesting circumstances, and he happened to meet Sri Aurobindo. Going back, he told the mother about it, and ever since, the Richards, both Paul Richard and the mother, especially the mother, she had a very strong urge to meet Sri Aurobindo in Pondicherry. And as we see in the prayers, particularly written in March, they are very profound. And it is not only that the mother is preparing herself for this meeting, it is as if she is preparing everybody else. And the prayers are also very suggestive, and they have universal value in the sense how the mother is preparing, what she thinks, what she feels, what she experiences, has a lot of practical takeaways for all of us. On March 3rd, she writes, as the day of departure draws near, she enters into a kind of self-communion. So she is already inwardly, she is very prepared for this meeting. However, she is on the physical plane. She talks of something very beautiful. She talks about 1,000 little nothings, the material things with which she has stayed for so long and who have served her for so long. And she is praying for them that so long she has loved them, she has taken care of them, and when she is not there anymore in this room with these material things may pass on to the hands of those who will take care of them with the same love and gratitude and feeling for them. According to the mother, even material things are not to be taken for granted. And not to take care of material things, she says, is a sign of inconscience and ignorance. We must take care of the material things not because we are attached to it, but because the material things also manifest something of the divine consciousness. And she feels extreme gratitude for them. So this is the first takeaway. Whenever we are leaving a particular thing or material things or surroundings, how should we look at them? There is always a sense of gratitude we can have towards them. And she says in this prayer, and there is an indication of her feelings about the meeting, my only wish is that this may be for us the beginning of a new inner period in which, more detached from material things, we could be more conscious of thy law and more consecrated. So the meeting on 29th March was epic in the sense that the divine Shakti, in the physical form, born in France, brought up in France with a particular kind of education, now she is moving towards India. So it is as if the divine Shakti is moving to India now for something very big and very great to happen. There is a purpose behind it. And although between Sri Aurobindo and the mother, there already had been occult connections. She used to see Sri Aurobindo in her dreams and visions, and very strangely, she says that when she used to have these visions, she had no idea about Indian dress sense or the way Indians greet or the way Indians prostrate. And in her visions, she would prostrate at his feet, and this figure, Asiatic figure, which was Sri Aurobindo, she started calling him Krishna. And in her dreams and visions, she would prostrate at his feet. And the same thing manifests on 29th of March exactly as she had envisioned. Now, Paul Richard, when how did the mother actually come to Pondicherry was, Paul Richard, her husband, had decided to contest one of the seats from French India for the Senate in Paris. And both of them had decided that they would come to India for at least 2 years. And so 1/4 of the mother's private fortune was sold off so that they could stay in India for 2 years, whether or not he won the seat in the Senate. Irrespective of that, they wanted to stay in India for 2 years, and they prepared for that. Now, but a divinity shapes our ends, as they say, however little we may be aware of it. She could not stay for 2 years, though she wanted to stay forever. So she had to go back. 21st of February, after her birthday, on 22nd of February 1915, not even a year, the mother had to return she had to go back because the World War I had started, and there was an ardent need, and Sri Aurobindo also felt that she should go back. But this was only the beginning. She went back to return after 6 years, never to leave the soil of India thereafter. So on 24th of April 1920, she returned, never to go back, and she dedicated her whole life as Sri Aurobindo's collaborator in Pondicherry. Now, before they embarked on the journey, they visited some very close friends and relatives in Geneva for a couple of days. So I think it was 4th of March that they left for Geneva. 2 days they stayed over there. And then from there, after a couple of days, they moved to Marseilles. And on 7th of, either 6th or I am not very sure of the date, 6th or 7th of March, they boarded the boat Kaga Maru, which would now bring them to the shore of Pondicherry. Now, the separation in one of the prayers, she has talked of the separation from near and dear ones. It's a journey she's embarking on for 2 years, decidedly. So there is a lot of suffering, and there is a lot of, you can say, distress of the physical separation from the near and dear ones. And the mother actually is now telling in one of her prayers here that though this causes a lot of distress, but this physical separation, which we feel on the physical plane, also can act as a lever to raise the consciousness and transcend it to the next higher level. And she says, we must not run away from suffering. We must not love and cultivate it either. We must learn how to go deep into it sufficiently to turn it into a lever powerful enough for us to force open the doors of the eternal consciousness and enter the serenity of true oneness. And precisely because of that, is not the suffering that separation brings one of the most effective means of transcending this outer consciousness, of replacing this superficial attachment by the integral realization of thy eternal oneness. So when we realize this eternal oneness in everybody and in each and everything, where is the separation? So she says that when we look at this separation from near and dear ones and from something that is very dear to us, we can actually transcend it if we are looking that the same consciousness is there in all. The mother's and Sri Aurobindo's life are an inspiration. even the smallest of acts, they had such large implications. In Geneva, they were helped by an Indian, and the mother never forgot this. And this Indian had a sister in Pondicherry who had unconditional support, love, affection, and gratitude from the mother throughout her life. And so, reconciled to this event that they would be separating, and maybe for a very, very long time they would not be meeting, the mother overcomes this, and they board the boat Kaga Maru. Now, she is on a very great mission. She is going to collaborate with Sri Aurobindo for the new creation to come on earth. And as it happens, the hostile forces are not far behind. They could sense it. So as soon as they board the boat Kaga Maru, there is a lot of commotion. And this commotion came in the form of a storm and sudden climatic change, to the extent that everybody felt that the boat is now going to sink. And this happens on the very first day. The mother prayed. The mother prayed for all in her, in her subtle form, or whatever she could do, she did. And it is only the presence of the mother. The commotion vanished. It subsided. And then everything became very peaceful, and the journey actually started. The voyage actually started. So, and it's very beautiful that the mother is on a ship where there are lots of passengers and crew. And she writes that on March 8, she writes as if she's adopting all the inhabitants of this ship and enveloping them in her love. And very beautifully on March 9, she talks about this very boat which is carrying her and the passengers. She talks about this as a temple, afloat on the waves of the subconscious passivity, which we have to rise above it and we have to conquer, and then we will be ready for something bigger. So it's a very beautiful description which Mother gives on March 9. And we see that the route that Kaga Maru follows is through the Mediterranean Sea, passing through Egypt and also Saudi Arabia. And also at one point of time, it also crosses the Red Sea. And the boat thereafter moves towards Colombo. And in Egypt, the boat stops for a while. The mother disembarks and she visits a museum in Cairo. And while she is visiting this museum in Cairo, very interestingly, she gets flashes of her past life as one of the queens of Egypt. And also, I think, Amenhotep's 3 or 4 mother of Amenhotep's. And she talked of this later on in Pondicherry. But this is the route that she followed. So they reach actually Colombo on 27th of March. And 28th of March, they reach Dhanushkoti, which is, from the Ramayana we know, but it is now submerged under the sea. And from there, they will board now the train, which will take them to Pondicherry. So, as the boat sails past the deserts, the mother feels an immense calm and peace. So there is a lot of calm and peace within herself. And there is also a lot of calm in the surroundings, in the deep, you can say, sands of the desert. And she feels very peaceful and calm. And there is a very beautiful description on March 10, I think. And this description is, she starts praying in the night. She feels this immense peace and calm. And when the mother feels the immense peace and calm, it is not for herself. In this peace and calm, she envelops everybody. So she starts praying for the people who are safeguarding the ship and taking care of all the passengers while they are asleep. Then she starts praying for all those who are asleep and who are being looked after. And here it is symbolic in the sense that they are sleeping in the sleep of inconscience. She starts praying for them. Then she starts praying for all the creatures of the sea, Thereafter, she starts praying for all those whom she has left behind, whom she knows, and whom she has met in her entire life, for all the people she knows. Thereafter, not stopping there, she starts praying for all that whom she does not know. And in the end, we see that she starts praying for the whole creation. So this is how, while she's traveling on this ship, on this marvelous ship, which is like a temple, she says, this is what she's doing while she's on her journey and voyage to India. So the peaceful nights on the sea, they continue with a feeling of felicity and joy for the mother. And while she was in Paris, she was so occupied with different groups, study circles, her own family. She was an artist herself. So she was just too occupied. Now while she is on this ship, she's free. She is experiencing a kind of freedom. And what is the mother doing with that freedom? हम लोगों को थोड़ा टाइम मिलता है, हम लोग भी think, okay, this is me time. Okay. So what is the mother's me time? Now while in this utter freedom, she actually starts traveling in the occult regions of the world's terror and is fascinated by them. And there is a beautiful description she gives about the infinite grades of consciousness. And the mother has said that there are different rungs of consciousness. It's like a ladder of consciousness she has talked of. And from any of these rungs of consciousness, one can approach the divine horizontally and one can approach the divine also vertically. And from any of the rungs, it is possible, whichever level of consciousness we are, whichever rung we are in, we can directly approach the divine. And this she has assured. And this is what happens. It is almost like Ashwapati's exploration of the world's terror in Savitri, which Sri Aurobindo has written. And it beautifully says in Savitri, and this is what the mother's state could be, you can say, compare it to. In this drop from consciousness to consciousness, each leaned on the occult inconscient power. In this soar from consciousness to consciousness, each lifted tops to that from which it came, origin of all that it had ever been, and home of all that it could still become. She is identified with the divine, and she says, this complete identification with the divine makes one omniscient, and then one is conscious of everything and everywhere. So this is what she has explained in one of the prayers. Her prayers and meditations while she is traveling on the ship are an eye-opener for facing difficulties, for utilizing the time, whatever we have. And she also says that many times we greatly overestimate, the capacity of the human being. And what tires one most is the anticipation of an exaggerated kind of fear. The body is a marvelous tool, she says, but it is our mind that does not know how to use it. And she says, the more we worry about the future circumstances, the more this fear exaggerates, and the more we become muddled in seeing things clearly. Though the body is a wonderful tool which has been given to us, but we don't know how to use it. And one of the things which she has written as to what she expects from her journey to India clearly is a complete identification with the object of one's thought. And this she writes on March 24, 1914 on the ship. So we will see later on that, and it is on record, that when she meets Sri Aurobindo after almost a week, or maybe 24th she's writing this, and 29th she meets Sri Aurobindo, she not only experiences this, she not only achieves this, she achieves what she has called a complete silence of the mind. And she's almost like a newborn. So also, while she's traveling, there have also been very interesting episodes. And one of them is that there were lots of passengers. So there were two clergymen in the ship who wanted to have a Christian religious ceremony on the ship. So between these two clergymen also, there was a debate as to which one of them should conduct the religious ceremony, because one of them was a Presbyterian and the other was an Anglican Christian. Finally, the Presbyterian wins and he decides to conduct the ceremony. And everybody on the ship is asked to attend this ceremony. And the mother has given a very interesting description as to how the people who attended the ceremony, what they did, and what happened after that. So in the mother's words, this is on March 25, she is writing. And that day, all the men had put on their jackets. It was hot. I think we were in the Red Sea. They put on their jackets, stiff collars, leather shoes, neckties, well set hats on their heads. The ladies wore their hats. Some even carried a parasol, a book under one arm, a prayer book. And they all heard the sermon. And after the sermon, they all went back to what they were doing earlier. Some went to the bar. Some went on to picking up their game of cards, which they were doing. Some went for their own gossip, normal chit-chat, and forgotten was the sermon. The Richards, both mother and her husband, had kept them away from this ceremony, so-called ceremony. And then when they were asked, rather accosted by the clergyman, why you did not attend, so mother had given a very befitting reply, which actually scandalized them. She said, I don't feel that you are sincere, neither you nor your flock. You all went there to fulfill a social duty and social custom, but not at all because you really wanted to enter into communion with God. She says it was all so much of a farce. In the name of communion with God, you went there, but you went there only under societal pressure and some show off. The mother, when she is writing these prayers and meditations throughout, the mother has actually broken all rigid norms and ideas about how one should commune with the Lord. It is not necessary to sit in a particular posture or to go to a particular place, puja ka kamra, or to chant, or to create an environment first and then sit down to call God. So she has broken all this rigidity. How the mother has written these prayers and meditations? Early in the morning, she is in a dialogue with the divine and she's making a cup of coffee for herself. And while the coffee is in the making, she is having these dialogues with the divine and expressing everything. So it is not necessary. The divine can be approached. You can have a direct communion with the divine. And this is the detailing that the mother has talked about consecration. Consecration in principle and theory we know. We know that, we should do good deeds, we should speak the truth and things. These are all theoretical. But how does one commune with the divine? Tell the divine everything. And that is what the mother has done. Each of her prayers is an example of that. So, it's not that if you go to the church or the temple, you can't pray. You can pray there also. But that is not the only place where you can. You don't need any external props, or you don't need any kind of a created environment to call the divine or to commune with the Lord. This is what the mother actually meant. So the clergymen, they were scandalized, and beyond that they could not say anything. Now the positive effect of this was, the mother says that whether or not the clergymen, it made any impact to them or not, she doesn't know. But the people who were around and who witnessed all this, many of them, they realized and they felt the change, and the mother helped them. So she says it didn't go all in waste, but there were people, there were passengers in the crew. And obviously, if we look at the divine play, the passengers and the crew who are traveling with the mother, can they be ordinary beings? So the mother took them all into her sanctuary of love, and their transformation had already started. And she kept on praying, and she kept on offering them the protection and her love, and she by doing this, she led them. So she writes, silent and unseen as always, but all powerful, thy action has made itself felt. And even in this circumstance, she is offering gratitude to the divine, because the circumstance came and these people could be changed. So thy action has made itself felt, and in those souls that seem to be closed, a perception of thy divine light is awakened. So with this sense of deep thankfulness and fulfillment, they reached Colombo on March 27. That day, they spent some time with a Buddhist monk, Dharampal. And she had made this journey in full consciousness of the sovereign presence of the divine. And she did not worry about the future. In fact, she offered everything she had to the divine as she is making this journey. Now, one has to remember that before the mother came to Pondicherry, she was at the peak of her spiritual achievements and heights. She is Yogeshwari, She had mastered the yoga of the Gita. She had mastered the Kundalini yoga, not only 7 chakras, but 12 chakras right below the feet. Then she knew about Raj Yoga, she practiced Raj Yoga. And then she knew everything that had to be known about the Indian spiritual, or you can say Indian spirituality, whatever is written. Not only that, she was an adept in Buddhist yoga too. So she had achieved all this. Now, there is a story which the mother had heard, possibly in her teens, and this influenced her, and she always remembered this, and she was very, you can say, very attracted to this story. And the story goes about something not about the spiritual life that she knew about in the Indian subcontinent, but it was very simple how the people lived very simply, and it was a story about an old woman, a mendicant basically, and one day she got only an apple. So half of the apple she ate and half she kept, possibly for the next day. Shiva, dressed as a mendicant, came for alms at her tattered hut, and he asked her. So she says, look, I have only this half apple that I have, half I have eaten. But if it can fulfill your need at this time, please, I offer it to you, please accept it. So this story impacted her mind and heart very much, and she always remembered it, and she always talked of it. Now when we look what the story could possibly have implications for us is that we always, whatever we have, if we offer whatever we have, one can say that it is directly proportional to the transformation that is going to happen. If we offer everything that we have without any feeling of getting anything in return, or it is just out of a pure act of love and surrender, the transformation is going to be very fast. So when the mother meets Sri Aurobindo, this story that she had internalized, it comes alive in her own life. Because when she meets Sri Aurobindo, in Sri Aurobindo's words, when she meets him, she prostrates. And she says, and Sri Aurobindo has said that he had never seen a surrender so absolute, so complete. And when he saw that, he said, I was very sure that the work that needs to be done now for the supramental manifestation is very nearby. So it was when she was moving to meet Sri Aurobindo and reach India. There is a passage in Sri Aurobindo's Savitri which may be very apt over here. Apparelled in her flickering colored robe, she seemed burning towards the eternal realms, a bright moved torch of incense of flame that from the sky roofed temple soil of earth a pilgrim hand lifts in an invisible shrine. So next day, they board this train which was called boat mail. And this boat mail, it took them to Villupuram, the closest station to Pondicherry. So they had to change the train. And then on 29th of March morning, they reach Pondicherry. And it was the mother's wish that she meets Sri Aurobindo alone. And that moment came at 3:30 in the afternoon. And this epic moment, it was like a blaze of instantaneous recognition. Whom she had adored and seen in her dreams as Krishna was right in front of her. And she had seen exactly the way Sri Aurobindo stood in the robe and the way she prostrated. She says, I did not understand what is this prostration and why should people do it. But she did it on her own and it manifested. And when we talk of this epic moment, what must have gone into this moment when the divine Shakti meets the Ishvara? I don't think anybody can explain this other than the divine. Anybody can describe. If anybody can describe it, it is only the divine who can describe this moment. And the first meeting and the current of feelings that may have gone through them are echoed in these lines of Savitri written by the Golden Master, Sri Aurobindo. Here first, she met on the uncertain earth the one for whom her heart had come so far, attracted as in heaven, star by star. They wondered at each other and rejoiced, and wove affinity in a silent gaze. A moment passed, that was eternity's ray. An hour began, the matrix of new time. There was hardly any conversation between the two of them. She did not speak a word. Instead, she just sat at his feet and closed her eyes. And after a while, there came from above an infinite silence and settled in her mind, and it never left her thereafter. All kinds of powerful ideas she had about beautiful life and creation on earth, about art, about society, about religion, all vanished in a flash. And she felt like a newborn baby, like a blank page. And she let go of all her mental constructs. And these mental constructs were no ordinary constructs. They were at her spiritual attainment, and she just left them. And we sit for meditation for a few minutes or maybe half an hour, and we think there is a calm and peace we feel, and we elaborated it so much to our friends and to ourselves. And here is, one can say, a mighty lesson in humility. And what at every moment is required of us to let go and only identify with what the divine wants to be done through us. On March 30th, she writes the epic lines. And it also has practical implications. We have read this prayer, we have heard about it many times. Yet, I would like to read it out again. She wrote on March 30th, 1914, the very next day. Gradually, the horizon becomes distinct, the path grows clear, and we move towards a greater and greater certitude. It matters little that there are thousands of beings plunged in the densest ignorance. He whom we saw yesterday is on earth. His presence is enough to prove that a day will come when darkness shall be transformed into light, and thy reign shall be indeed established upon earth. O Lord, divine builder of this marvel, my heart overflows with joy and gratitude when I think of it, and my hope has no bounds. My adoration is beyond all words. My reverence is silent. These lines are specifically significant for us in our everyday life. The mother is telling us, one Sri Aurobindo and his presence is enough to counterbalance millions and millions and loads of darkness. It is an assurance that she is giving us. People and we often complain of darkness, difficulties, obstacles, hurdles, not getting this, not getting that. But what the mother is telling us, that the divine presence is enough. The mere presence of Sri Aurobindo, and for us, the mere presence of Sri Aurobindo and the mother is enough to annihilate everything. And this is what we have to remember in our day-to-day life. When we are faced with obstacles, or when we are gloating and raving and ranting about our situations, our circumstances, let us not forget that circumstances, people, situations will come and go, they will change. What is constant is the divine. The divine is the only constant. And that presence we have to remember and we have to invoke. And if we do that, will the difficulties appear like difficulties anymore? Will they be difficulties anymore? Or will they be just stepping stones organized for us to move to the next higher level? And what an assurance. Sri Aurobindo and the mother, they are still here. They are very much here, everywhere, in everything. What is anything without them? Can anything exist without them? Whatever we may think of, material, immaterial, abstract, all. In Sri Aurobindo Savitri there is a line, the entire universe is only he and she. And this is such a simple way. This is the simplest way, just to remember. So the significant moment when this happened on 29th of March is still significant for us, very much there. The moment we turn to Sri Aurobindo and the mother, this moment comes alive. And there is so much to learn from their life. They were the divine, they are the divine. In their physical form also they were divine. Very much divine, and they are still there. And that is why Sri Aurobindo has always emphasized on this personal relationship with God, this personal connect. It is very important. And it is important for us to reach out. This is what we have concretely with us. It is very concrete. Their presence is very concrete. And this moment, when they met, it was the starting point of all the work that would happen. And the suprament, and because of that, because of this very moment, it is, one can say, it is just like a seal that the supramental is round the corner. And the mother has called it, she says, see it like an adventure. And be brave hearts to participate in this. It is just round the corner. Their life has been so inspirational. Even small things, we think they are small, but by even how they reacted to these small things. When the mother, on 29th of March, when she was walking towards Sri Aurobindo's house, she could not locate the house. And she asked a passerby, a man who was passing by, she asked him, where is Sri Aurobindo's house? The man just lifted his finger and pointed to the house. And throughout, till she was in Pondicherry, the mother took great care of this person. Champaklalji once asked the mother, Mother, why are you so, why do you favor this person? He has all sorts of wrong things in him, yet you do so much for him. So she made sure that this person never was always looked after. He had enough to lead his life. Then the mother says, it was he who showed me that house where the Lord lives. So we can't figure out, or we can't even understand with our limited minds what conspires in this divine Leela and what role this person played. And throughout her life, the mother only expressed gratitude to this person just because he showed her the house where Sri Aurobindo lives.